Halloween Ends. What the actual fuck? Okay, in all seriousness, this movie is batshit wild, and the overwhelming amount of complaints on all social media should show you how the fan base feels. Let me begin by stating that I actually liked Halloween Ends, but that doesn't mean it's without any flaws. Hell, I would say there's more bad than good about this movie, but I still think it's a solid entry. I just personally respect the different direction they took with this film, despite it being the third of a trilogy and seemingly not put together well. Also, please don't be one of those people calling it the worst entry in the franchise, and ignore the fact that if we lined all the Halloween movies up and picked at random, then you're more than likely going to pick one that's far worse than this movie. Halloween Ends had a bunch of fun ideas at play, but when trying to mesh them all together, it just comes out looking like a meal created at 4 a.m. by someone who just torched some devil's lettuce. I'm getting high as a I'm not even mad at the fact that they did this though, but could understand completely why the fans feel scammed here. Personally, I love seeing Michael bust the nut on the big screen. On that note, did anyone else find this movie weirdly erotic? But we're straying from the main topic, and that being, is Halloween Ends bad or was it misunderstood? I know people won't enjoy it because people hated it for different reasons. We have people who wanted the same movie they've seen for the last 40 years, or even people who just hate Halloween movies in general and went into it with a bias beforehand. For those who are open-minded and actually want to give it another chance, please do, because I believe it's far better than the masses are giving it credit for. I mean, most of the backlash on social media is from people who obviously haven't really paid attention to this new trilogy or even this film. Oh, you don't understand why Michael was in a sewer since Halloween Kills ended? Well, it was stated that his house was demolished via a newspaper clipping in this film. Are you ashamed that Michael wasn't featured more in this film? Well, someone didn't realize that this trilogy has been more focused on the aspect of evil changing shape and its effect on Haddonfield. Can't wrap your head around why Michael was weak in this movie? Well, in Kills, it's being implied that his house is what he loves and gives him power, yet it's demolished in this film, on top of the man being damn near 70 and beaten to shit by the town. So I highly recommend, with this knowledge, you look at the film under a different scope and try to give it a second shot knowing this information. I'm also not excusing parts of this film, like Corey snatching Michael's mask was very odd, and the third act in general just wasn't handled as well as I would have liked. Halloween Ends wasn't the best and has plenty of errors that you can nitpick for hours, but to say it's an awful film and to even create petitions to recreate the film so real fans can get the ending they want is just asinine. We're all acting as if they won't reboot the franchise in a few years, so if this didn't work for you, that's fine, but let's slow down and not demand a studio throw money down the drain for a niche part of the community who probably won't ever be pleased. The problem is how this trilogy has been handled, feeding information to the audience. We had Halloween Ends, which alluded to plenty of things, but never specifically stated it, and obviously the backlash shows not everyone is capable of picking up on these pieces of information, or they just didn't appreciate it. So that begs the question, what happens when the audience is spoon-fed everything and leaves no room for the imagination? Well, the result is Halloween Kills, and guess what? It also had an awful social media reaction. That leaves us in a tough spot because the fan base will bitch either way. So where do we go from here? Well, that's above my pay grade. And as someone who loved both films, I wouldn't be able to side with either approach to them. I'll just say it's okay to like any movie. And if anybody tells you that you're wrong or not a real fan for liking it, then just ignore them, because these horror fans are the problem and their opinion holds less value than yours. To sum it up, I loved Halloween Ends, and the feeling it gave me watching was similar to that of when I watched the film called Super Dark Times. It's not perfect and it has its fair share of issues, but overall I loved it, and I think the backlash isn't as warranted as we think. If you want a more in-depth dive into why this movie works, go check out FilmSpeak discuss this in their video about Halloween Ends, as they do a phenomenal job diving into this film and make a great case on why people shouldn't write it off just yet. With all of that being said, I will give Halloween Ends an 80% on the pumpkin meter.